Using free assets isn't cheating, but a bunch of smart indie students have asked me this because they felt the downside. If you use assets like most people do, you just end up wasting weeks and not ship anything. Now, I've released 3 games, and in this video I'll break down when you should use assets, when to avoid them, and how you're going to stay locked in on releasing your first game. After this video, you're going to have it very clearly in your mind when you should use assets, when to avoid them, and how you're going to make a good game without like overcomplicating anything, being a perfectionist. I just want to clarify a few things first. Using free assets online is not cheating, but if you use it the wrong way, it can hurt your progress. That's the thing. And I also just need to clarify, I'm talking about using assets online here. So if you have something you enjoy making, for example, yourself, like you enjoy making music, models, pixel art, whatever, then just go ahead and use that. But we'll still cover when you should use assets online. So watch this video anyway. So like the foundational, essential thing that you need to understand is that in game development, the craft of game development, there's only going to be one essential skill, and that's going to be programming. Programming is the most essential skill as a developer. If you can't do code, if you can't program, if you can't make scripts, you aren't able to tell the game engine what the game should do. So you don't have a game. And the reality is that you don't really need to focus, like fully focus on all these other aspects, like making art, models, making music. You don't need to focus on these things right now. Right now, you should be fully locked in on releasing your first game. And to actually release, what we need to do is not going to focus on the art and stuff, because these things are nice, but they're going to take a lot of time from us. It's going to take a lot of time from actually releasing. Sure, they might make the game better, but your first game is not supposed to be good. You just need to release something. I'm going to say this again because it's very important. Your priority in game development should be learn programming and release a game even if it's bad. And that's also what smart indies focus on, so I'll give you the same exact advice that I give to my students. Okay, so now we talked about what your priority should be in game development. Now we need to ask the question if assets is going to help you release or it's going to just delay it. Using assets, it doesn't directly hinder either learning or releasing a game, but what it's going to do is that it's going to cost you time and it's going to cost you effort. So it's very easy to try to perfect, like find the perfect asset online when you are searching for things, and also trying to find something that fits your existing game and importing it, like changing the values on it and like importing it again. Just finding them and importing them, that's going to take a lot of time because it's very easy to begin on perfecting everything, try to make everything like look very nice together. You might edit the photos, whatever it might be. When you're using assets, it's very easy for you to just be a perfectionist and then just spend a lot of time and effort on making these things that aren't going to make or break your game. Sure, it might be a bit better, but it's not going to help you release or make you learn anything. And like, sure, there are some skills that you can learn from importing assets, but it's not going to be anything essential. For example, if you're like importing a 3D model and then you need to rig the character to make the animations and stuff, that's not going to be essential for your first game. You can download the animations also, like downloading the animations using the software, like Mixamo, all these things. You don't need to learn that in your first game. You can make a game with just a capsule player. You don't need like animations. As I said, your only priority should be to learn programming and release your game. And like rigging your character and like modifying the pixel art, these things aren't going to help you release or learn programming. Okay, so now we have a really good overview of when we should use assets, if it's going to help us, and what our priority should be. Now we can talk about like specifically how you can determine if you should use assets, when you should use them, and when to avoid them, like very specifically. And I'm going to tell you in the way, so if you do this, you're not going to waste hours and maybe be so perfectionist in your game that it's going to take so much effort away from actually learning programming and releasing the game that you're not going to release. Like, I just want you to release here, and I'm going to tell you how to make like the best balance between making a good game with like a few assets and actually doing what's best for your learning right now, which is to learn programming and learn how to release. But I'm going to say that this is going to depend a lot on the type of game that you're making. That might not be the answer that you expected, but I think that. For example, if you're making a 2D game, it's so much easier to not use any assets at all. Or if you do, you can obviously just keep it minimal. You can just ask the AI to make your icons. You can find an icon website, make the icons. When you actually need assets, it's going to be very easy to find out. They aren't art heavy at all like the main gameplay. It's all just shapes like squares, circles, triangles, and these shapes, right? Like the player is non pixel art, 3D model, rigged animator character. It's simply just a square or a circle. And I think that's really good because I can still make really fun games doing that. There are actually a ton of very popular and successful games They just have these very simple shapes that they aren't very art heavy at all. You could probably think of a few, like I can think of a few, like color switch and the like what is called the one where you fall down, like helix jump or something. These are not very art heavy at all. You can literally make like a ball in Unity, and that's going to be the player in helix jump, which is one of the most popular mobile games ever. But that's very specifically art and models. I think it's very different when it comes to music and sound effects, because these are very easy to import and you aren't going to have like 100 of these. So I think downloading the music and the sound effects, that's going to be totally fair, and it's just going to add to your game, and it's very little effort. So I think that's worth it to add. And then for the marketing materials, the icons and stuff, you can use free websites which are copyright free. So for marketing, just ask AI to make like a poster for your logo, whatever. It can actually look really good. I think it's very good at making AI marketing materials. And then for the icons in the game, then just use an icon website. There are multiple icon websites which are completely copyright free to get like high quality vector graphics or PNGs, and it's like 1 million different alternatives that you can choose from. And this is going to make you 100% locked in on programming and actually releasing the game, instead of focusing on these things that take a lot of time, like modeling and art especially. They are going to take a lot of time. But what happens when you make a 3D game? What assets should be used then? Well, I just told you, for example, if you're making a 3D game for your first game, for whatever reason, you might really want to make 3D games in the future, even though it's going to be a bit harder. But if you're going to make a 3D game for your first game, it's going to be much harder to not use any assets. So what I would say to that, just download a few models. I don't think there's, unless you're making a very like niche mobile game, I don't think you can bypass using free assets online and using that in your game. So just implement it for the functionality. For example, if you have enemies, it's much better to just have a enemy model than to have like a square. So implement it for functionality, not for perfectionism, and just for visuals. Implement them for functionality. And if you're going to make 3D games in the future, then actually rigging the characters and doing all these things are going to be skills that you need to learn anyway. So that's it for this video. If you haven't released your first game yet, then you can check out the first link in the description. You can learn more about Smart Indie there. Thank you for watching.